guys, how you doing? Welcome to um, Chess Cruncher TV on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. All right, let's get down and dirty into this fun stuff. Okay, the whole thing that we're going to be going over is a game of Sergey as white, Sergey Karjakin, and Hikaru Nakamura as black. And so this game Hikaru won. Last game Sergey it was a draw with him when they played. So this time Hikaru plays a really good line. I think it's the classic Steinitz variation. That's what I believe it is. So we'll take a look and see. And that's gonna be fun, fun, fun. Till my daddy take the T-bird away, hey, yeah. So D6, D4, and D5. This is the start of the French. You always know the French when they have a pawn on E4, D4, and then they also have a pawn on E6 and D5. This is the start of the French, and then it goes into different variations. There's like the advanced variation. There's the Tarash variation. There's the Rubinstein variation with, if you don't want to play that, but play knight to e2. That's the Rubinstein. There's a secondary variation. I think I don't remember the name on this one, but it's actually bishop d3. And there's even the exchange variation of taking and then taking. There's a whole bunch of variations, but in this one, we're going down. There's also one more called the classic variation, and that's what Sergey and Hikaru go into. This is actually the classic Steinitz variation. There's actually a more classical variation. We talked about it before, which is bishop to g5 here, and then what you do is you play bishop e7, and then they play e5, and then you take, and then this happens right here with the taking, and then you get your idea of c5, and that's when they play. Normally they play either f4 here, or they retreat their knight back, and then c5 is played with c3 to keep this pawn center structure for black. I mean for white here. But that wasn't played. You can also advance the classical variation into the Steinitz classic by playing e5 right away. Which this plays into a classic variation without the loss of his light squared bit, his dark squared bishop for black's dark squared bishop. So, but in the regular classic, as I like to call it, the normal classic, the exchange of these two bishops actually favor black. I mean favor white, because black gets their bad bishop off when white keeps their good bishop. I mean they get basically good. They get their bad bishop. Black loses their good bishop. That's basically what it is. Knight fd7 is forced. You don't want to come up here. I've actually seen where people have played up here. This is actually a mistake here. This is a mistake because knight takes, pawn takes, and then now you're breaking up your idea of the center. And white can start playing based on this with maybe even an idea of f3, pawn takes, knight takes, and then they can play c4 and d5, and you don't really want that to come down the old pikaroo, as I like to say. So that's why Hikaru properly retreats back to d7, and he's preparing to play the move c5. Kaboom. Sergey could actually avoid this type of setup with knight e2. We saw that it's not as strong. We from one of our games this the last stream, we saw that knight e2 isn't as strong as f4. F4 is a strong move, but remember what you're trying to do is when c5 gets played, you're trying to hold the center via the king side, and you're wanting to get unravel all your pieces, castles, and maybe you're going to play for a castle on the opposite side of the board. And that's the whole type of play there is what we're talking about. Okay, so he plays f3 here, knight f3, knight to c6. Because there's no reason. I know you're thinking, why not just take? There's really no reason to do that. Again, like if at this point Sergey were to play knight c e2, then Hikaru would take because he doesn't want this formation to happen, this symmetrical pawn structure formation. So that's the only downside with playing knight to f3 here, is black can then start developing their pieces and unraveling them and taking them in. So great job on all this, following along so far, my friends. Keep it up. Keep on rolling and a going. Bishop to e3. Sergey's not dedicating to castling yet, deciding which side to castle. Doesn't want to really play potentially bishop to d3 here, because black in theory does not have to take here. If bishop d3, I've seen where more positional players have played c4 here, and then what they do is they'll unravel these pieces here, get them out, and then maybe even at this point castle queenside and play f6, g6, h4 or h5, and then g5, and get some sort of an attack on the king side. That's play. So there's that idea. That's why he held off and played bishop to e3 here. And bishop e7 is a good move. It stops a lot of potential ideas of the knight jumping in, because then the bishop would take, pawn takes, queen takes. Actually, no, knight takes, bishop takes, and pawn takes. And then what you have is a fractured pawn structure, and you can then at this point, if you wanted to, take on pawn takes here, and you have a very weak e5 pawn. Basically, it's a e5 pawn that has no buddies around it, and it's very sad. It needs a friend, as Bob Ross would say, but there is no friends around, because this pawn would be right here, this pawn would be gone, and this little guy would be all alone with nobody. So we don't want that. That's why you wouldn't want to play knight here. So good job if you spotted not playing that. Well done. Queen d2 prepares for the advance of yours truly, the f5 pawn, and unleashing all the power. As He-Man would say, I have the power. White would have the power of the g5 square, and then say, bring it, bring it, bring it, friend, bring it. So a6 here. This is black's idea of getting counterplay on the queen side, and potentially taking and trying to have a minority attack versus a majority attack on the queen side. Castles, knight takes, and the bishop comes out. And that's a very interesting move that Sergey played. I actually like that move. I've seen it played in a lot of Grandmaster games. Most a player would take, and you can take here. There's only one drawback. It was actually played in the game, so it's not like it's not a good move. In my opinion, what happens is they can reconnect their pawns, and it acquires what white actually desires, is to keep a solid center, and then they're going to play around the pawns. But remember, every drawback, there's a drawback to every move. White does lose their bishop here. So when this knight takes here, Hikaru acquires a very important later in the game trump card, as I like to say. He gets the idea of playing. He has the two bishops, and when the position opens up, he'll be able to play both those bishops into their maximum potential winning position. So the queen takes. See, you don't really want to take here. This is actually, in my opinion, a slight inaccurate move, because of d4 here, and you actually get forked. You can't actually take. So you have to take with the queen, because if knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and you go down a whole entire piece. And it's basically over at that point. So don't be tricked into taking with the pawn. You have to take with the queen. It's a forced move order. And if you don't play the move order right, you get into a big problem at that point, a huge problem with losing a piece, and that's a big problem. And again, if you like what you see, please click follow on Twitch, R, Kick, and also subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, let's get right back into this. F6, yay! 2 thumbs up, hoorah, hoorah, hoorah. One sec, I'll get a drink and then we'll talk about this. Black and the French, and I know if you study the French and you're a lover of the French like I am, I love the French defense. Black has 2 breaks in the position, f6 and c5, and Hikaru's getting both of those in. You gotta love it when that happens. And once he takes here, he's nuking the entire center, and then he can castle, and now Hikaru has the advantage. If he can get that position and then castles, wow, 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 wow. Power in the city, as I like to say. Or as they say, power to the people. Will it be power to the rooks and the pawns? Yeah. So takes. Wow, Sergey actually surrendered the center willingly. Interesting. I think he saw that if he allowed pawn takes and then pawn takes, he'd have an isolated e-pawn. So he made the best out of a worse position, which would be taking to keep his pawn chains in you know, he has 2 pawn islands where black actually has 3. See, Hikaru Nakamura has actually 3. This is a pawn island, and pawn island. So in theory, white has a very slight edge here in an endgame because of the theory of 2 weaknesses. He would have to guard these pawns over here. All 3 of these pawns. If it came down like a king in pawn endgame, where white only has to worry about 2 pawn island protection. So that's with that. We'll continue onward. This is gonna be so much fun. I'm having fun. I hope you are too. Chess is a fun game. It's also very energetic, and it helps your mind to build, and you get smarter. Hey, how you doing? How you doing there? Hey, there you go. Glad to see you. You're funny. And so yeah, that's the whole idea about this move here. Once I gotta make sure I move my monitor. Sometimes it gets in the way of a lot of my reading, and I appreciate your patience if I missed out on anything. Keep trying to I'm checking 3 stream chats, and so I want to make sure as it's filling up, answering the questions. Sometimes it fills up really fast, and so it's like, whoa. And I have to make sure I get to all the questions. So if you have any questions on Twitch, YouTube, or Kick, please put them in, because I will try and do my best to answer each one in order that I can. So great job for staying on and commenting. Great work, team. So this knight here was a very important move for Hikaru. It attacks the queen and probes into a2 here. It also does one thing that's vital. You could play queen a5 here, and then there's a in tactical puzzle battle. If you can get a queen here, you can actually take here and infiltrate in, and then cause a lot of headaches. And you can there's like checkmating threats galore. So Hikaru might actually do that after the queen moves and just double the pawns. He might just straight out do that too. If the queen would have to basically go back, I believe, to c2 to keep the integrity of their knight, because or d2 I mean, because if they move away, Hikaru won't hesitate just to grab that and then fracture the the pawns of Sergey in the center here on the c file, and then he'll have an advantage of also uh, coming in to take with check. The queen comes in protecting the knight. It's just a complete mess at that point. So this is actually a forced continuation. Queen d2 is forced. If you don't play it, you're going to go down severe material. So that's why queen retreats back, which is the proper move. And Hikaru does the correct and most proper thing to do. He comes in with his queen, preparing to play a vital move here, which is bishop takes, when pawn takes, rook takes. I mean, knight takes a2 check, and then this allows for potentially the next couple pieces flowing in, and you have to always keep that in your forefront. Bishop d2 here is d4 here is actually an idea where Sergey's trying to trade off his bishop so that he can keep a cemented knight there. But remember, that knight's not going to stay there forever, because once we can maybe trade this bishop for this knight, this bishop for this bishop, if we get the rooks involved, we can jam a pawn up the board to dislodge this knight. So it's temporary right now, this sacrifice. And Hikaru actually takes at this point here. This is actually a very interesting move. I like it. I like this move actually. This is a win of a pawn, and it's one of those moves that if you don't have the confidence to play, you're gonna overlook it, and you're not gonna get the max out of the position. And this actually maximizes his position and gives him now a slight edge. Uh, Knight takes, queen takes, and then the queen's now doubling up on the h8 to a1 diagonal. So you have to always remember everything has a drawback to it. When the queen moved away from a5 here, see back here when it beforehand they were staring off at each other. Now when they move the queen comes in and grabs this wonderful diagonal. It's so beautiful, a very beautiful diagonal. And now it's going to be interesting if Hikaru has to find the correct continuations. Castles is the only move that could be played here that gives black any advantage, because he has to get his king safe so that he'll have a defender of the bishop. And I believe he does play that. Excellent job, nice. These are all hard moves to see, because if you haven't looked like maybe 4 or 5 moves down the road, you're not going to be able to understand how the position. Hikaru basically had to see that the queen was going to end up on c3 in some lines. And the interesting thing is, we'll just step back for a second and talk for a moment. They asked one time Magnus Carlsen on like one of the documentaries, what does he see when he looks at the board? He says, I don't really see the board. He says, I see a board in my mind. And how that works is like there's players that play blindfold chess, and they actually make a board in their mind, where the board is they're playing the moves in their mind on the board because they're blindfolded. They call out the move like e7 to e5, or d5 to d7 to d5. Both they have to call out like where it was and where it's going, and they could actually play it in their mind. And sometimes they play like 30 plus boards of blindfold chess. I think I believe it was, well, I forgot the name of the gentleman who actually played the most blindfold games. He's a pretty strong U.S. grandmaster, and he did the most board games, blindfold board chess in history so far. If you know the name, you could put it in. I forgot it. I usually know it. I usually know my chess players, but I forgot his name. Excellent. Okay, well, we're probably going to take a pause right here, and we'll pick this game up next time. because yeah, so stuff comes up and I'm gonna do that. So I'll be right. I want to thank you all for logging on and participating in this, chess game so far, and we'll pick it up later, okay? I appreciate your patience on that. And remember, the main thing is if you like what you see, please click follow on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Much appreciated. And remember, the important thing that Team Chess Cruncher has, our motto, is taking what you know and being able to apply it and being willing to do something with it. Treasure your victories, learn from your losses. Remember that mistakes don't define who you are, so you handle a mistake that defines who you are as a chess player. And in every area of your life that you're in, my friends. And remember, you know what, like what Bruce Lee says, knowing is not enough, you must apply. Willing is not enough, you must do. And he means that if you don't take what you know and apply it, it's for naught. And if you don't, take it and use it, then you're not using the gifts that the Lord's given you. And remember, the main important thing is choice. We have a choice on the board of decisions to make for moves. But the ultimate decision, my friend, is the decision of salvation. And we have to make that decision. I pray you do, because it comes down to eternity, and I want you to make the correct decision. So please do that today, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Be blessed, my friends. Bye bye for now. See ya.